Now we are back to the RE framework. As we can see, it has 4 states in it: initialization, get transaction data, process transaction, and end process. Right here, it will contain a block where the RE framework has got its own default XAMLs in which it will try to read the configuration file, okay, whatever is available in this particular config, which is available in data config. It will try to read all the sheets, settings, constants, and assets, and will add those data as name, key, and value pair into this particular variable that is available to us, out config. Okay, so it will try to add everything and it will just send that out to the main again as the parameters indicate. We are passing the path of that particular Excel, which is a configuration file, the sheets to read, and the output of that, the out argument of that is config, which is already available here. So once that is done, this part is useful when we are using orchestrator, so we can neglect it, ignore it. Then we can kill any processes if we want to clear up the environment, and this is to add few logs, necessary logs, to the log file to keep a track of all the activities that have been happening. And finally, we have init all applications. Right here, if you just open, there's nothing over here, but because for us the input is the files available in input files, right? So these are the transaction items for us: Hasta, Jack, James, and Kiran. To get those things as transactions, go back to your code, and if you remember, just refresh it, and in the input data we have a sequence that we have implemented. If you just open this, you can see you were trying to get the files available in particular folder. Okay, here was that particular folder, so let's make it dynamic. Let's add this path to the configuration file right now. So I'm just opening this, and right here, input files folder, just copy this name, and what was the folder name of it? It was input files. Copy this and paste this. So we know this is the folder name. Let's use this keyword inside this to access that particular folder name. Here, close this and use the configuration file. As we can see, there is no configuration file available in this particular XAML. Let's create an argument called in config, and then in the type is dictionary. There's the one, string and object. Click on OK. That's done. Now I can remove everything over here, and then in config of that particular name, this name or this key has to be used to access this particular value. So paste it and then convert it to string. There's an extra bracket here. Sorry. Yeah, done. So this will fetch all the folders available in this particular file directory. Let's see if it's happening. Before that, because we have created a argument over here, we have to pass this particular config file to this from here. So it's on config. So I have given the configuration file from this to this. The configuration file from this has been passed to this, and from there it has been passed from this to the innermost XAML, this. Once that is done, try running the flow once. Just keep a breakpoint here to see what's happening. Breakpoint. And then start. Before that, we have to close this, save it, debug. Okay, as you can see, it's showing the file names as an input files Hasta, input files Jack, in input files James, and here is the last one. So we were able to fetch those particular folder names. One more thing that we have to remember is, because it's a module, we have to send this particular value to this and finally to this, so that we'll be able to access that particular thing further, right here and right here. To do that, here it should be an argument instead of a variable. So just copy this and then out this particular name, change the direction of it, and it's a string of arrays. It's an array of strings, sorry. Fine, you can just close this and then come back to this, and you will find that that particular argument is available here. Now we have to create another argument here so that we can send it to the main. Input files. This is an out, and this is array of strings. Assign that particular argument to this, okay, and as a final thing, go back to main, and here open this, and right here assign that particular value to transaction data. There's an error because transaction data by default in RE framework is a data table. Change the type of it to array of strings, and now if you just see, there's no error, but there are a lot of errors elsewhere. Go to this, because there's an error, just disable it, and now there must be no error. Just check for the file. Yeah, no error. Okay, because we believe that you might have done the correct way, but let's clarify it by keeping a message box right here. So we have the data into transaction data, right? So transaction data dot count will give me the number of folders available in that. With that, I can say that this was working fine. Let's run it and see if we get the count as 4. It has run, and maybe because it has failed somewhere. Let's go back to it and see value cannot be null. Okay, so there's a value over here, and let's see if this has any value here. Yeah, it has got the value, and here. So what was the issue? See, we have created an argument, but we have forgot to delete the variable, right? So that's a common issue that we might get during the development. So it's a good practice to create the arguments at a first place. Because we were just starting up, I have been creating the variables instead of arguments at the start. But from the next projects, we'll be using the arguments in every module that we implement. Fine, so let's go back to this. It's all there. Okay, let me run it once again. Here we got the count as 4. So it was able to get these details out to this particular main XAML right here.